Macbeth in 7 Magic the Gathering decks. Deconstructing Macbeth. Macbeth is a man led by ambition and a wanting to be more and have more. He is willing to go to insane lengths to obtain more power, and in doing so he loses pieces of himself and his ethics and morals. By the end, we see Macbeth given up on life, and saying, "Everything we do signifies nothing." It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. At the start of the play, Macbeth is the hero of Scotland, with the king saying, "But all's too weak for brave Macbeth. Well, he deserves that name." Along with giving him the title Thane of Cawdor, along with what he already had, was Glom's. Even after he is told he will be king by the weird sister, he still exclaims that if that happens, good, if not, oh well. "If chance will have me king, why chance may crown me without my stir." However, after being pushed by Lady Macbeth, he goes down a path that he cannot turn back from, and loses respect and admiration from others, and eventually his life. In Magic the Gathering, this reminds me of cards which once hit or pushed over the edge deal damage to others and try to kill them. Cards like Boros Reckoner or Spite-Mare, who once hit are able to deal damage to others. These cards symbolize Macbeth and his descent into madness, as it is started with a little push, as he soon falls into a paranoid dictator, killing anyone in his path, much like these cards will kill anything that tries to push back against them. Deconstructing Lady Macbeth. Macbeth is a woman with lust for power, who at the start of the play is willing to do whatever it takes to obtain that, but later on realizes the extent of what she has done and attempts to stop. Lady Macbeth at the start is all for getting Macbeth to be king. After hearing about the weird sisters, she says, "Glom's thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way." She's worried that Macbeth is too kind to do whatever it takes to get the crown, including killing. She is so ready to do whatever it takes, she says, "I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gum and dashed it the brains out, had I sworn as you have done to this." She would be willing to murder a helpless, innocent newborn if she made a promise like Macbeth made. However, Lady Macbeth is also a little naive. She believed that all they had to do was kill Duncan for Macbeth to be king. A little water clears us of this deed. She thought the murder was a one-time, one-and-done thing, when in reality, there was much more than one murder. Lady Macbeth didn't remind me of a single Magic the Gathering card, but a relatively common deck called Burn, which attempts to kill the opponent quickly, without much thought for the mid to late game. Just like Lady Macbeth, Burn is all about not thinking ahead and acting quickly, dismissing any future problems. Deconstructing light versus dark imagery. Light versus dark imagery is used all throughout the play to convey feelings and tone. "Let not light see my black and deep desires." Macbeth has the desire to be king, even though he should be happy being the Thane of Glom's and Cawdor. The darkness is used to show evil and nefarious deeds that are or will be done. The darkness sets a tone, but so does the light. But signs of nobleness, like stars, shall shine on all deservers. At this time, Duncan is happy, announcing his son as the heir to the kingdom, and everybody there, except Macbeth, is in good spirits, as a battle was just won. The light contrasts the dark, and is used to show a good, happy times. However, these light times often do not last, as Macbeth is constantly scheming to take and hold the throne. The light versus dark imagery reminded me of 2 creature types in Magic: angels for light and demons for dark. Demons, which get their power from the graveyard, which is where cards go once they die, and angels, who give cards boosts like indestructible and make them stronger. These go hand in hand with light and dark imagery, as dark symbolizes death and light symbolizes life. Deconstructing blood imagery. Blood imagery is used in Macbeth to signify murder and regret. While Macbeth kills Duncan, we can see how both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth cope with the supposed blood on their hands. Macbeth says, Will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hands?" Macbeth worries that he will never get this blood off his hands, and will never forgive himself for what he has done, while Lady Macbeth just says, "A little water clears us of this deed," as if she's just washing dirt from her hands. She seems so easily able to forgive herself and feel no regret. We can see blood throughout the play change hands. Using blood as a signifier for murder, we can see the blood change from Lady Macbeth to Macbeth's hands, as Lady Macbeth first pushes Macbeth to murder Duncan, so it's more on her hands. But once Macbeth does the deed, he continues murdering, while Lady Macbeth wishes to stop. However, using blood as a signifier for regret, the blood changes hands the other way. As first, Macbeth feels terrible for killing Duncan. "Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking, I would thou couldst." After gaining power, he does it so much more, and feels no regret, while Lady Macbeth feels no regret after killing Duncan. But after she sees how far her husband has gone, she has so much blood on her hands, and so much regret, she goes crazy, saying, "The Thane of Fife had a wife, where is she now? What will these hands ne'er be clean?" The blood imagery reminded me of cards, which are helped if other cards are put into the graveyard. Cards like a Cursed Centaur, which has an added cost you must kill another one of your creatures, or Blood Aspirant, who gets stronger the more creatures you sacrifice, just like how Macbeth and Lady Macbeth got more power after killing Duncan. Deconstructing appearance versus reality. We can see the use of appearance versus reality throughout the entire play. From the second scene, where the Thane of Cawdor betrays Scotland, on to the very last scene, where Macbeth realizes the two reassurances that the Weird Sisters gave him were easily overturned. Appearance versus reality is all around. From Duncan saying, "There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face," to Lady Macbeth telling Macbeth to "look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it." Many in the play have ulterior motives and attempt to not make known what they are by pretending to want something else. Shakespeare is trying to tell us to be cautious of who we put our faith into, much like Malcolm, who didn't just blindly trust Macduff, but tested his loyalty before trusting him. When I thought about appearance versus reality in Magic, an ability came into mind called Morph. What Morph does is it lets you play a card face down as a 2 power, 2 toughness creature, so it's not very strong. However, if you pay the cost to flip it, you may have a very dangerous, scary monster on the other side, much like how Macbeth put on his nice face for the party after becoming the Thane of Cawdor, before flipping in the night and murdering Duncan. Cards like Croissant Cloud Scraper, which can transform from a 2/2 to a 13/13 monster that can kill you in 2 turns, or a card like Lumen Thread Field, which can come in as a 2/2 creature, but transform into a non-creature enchantment. Deconstructing influence from the supernatural. The supernatural have a direct influence on the play of Macbeth. The Weird Sisters not only start Macbeth down his path of murder and betrayal, but also mislead him into a false sense of security, which leads to his death. These 3 witches cast spells on Macbeth and toy with him, saying, "All hail Macbeth, that shall be king hereafter," but not telling him how it will come to be, leading Macbeth down to murdering many. The 3 aberrations that are summoned also lull Macbeth into a false sense of security, saying, "For none of woman born shall harm Macbeth," and "Macbeth shall never vanquished be, until great Burnham Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him." These make Macbeth believe that he is destined to win the impending battle, and not really take it too seriously until it's too late. Due to this influence from the supernatural, Macbeth believed himself destined to be king, which would ultimately unlock his fatal flaw of ambition. Without the 3 Weird Sisters, Macbeth would have never thought he had the chance to become king, but with the witches and their spells, and withholding information from Macbeth whenever speaking to him, led him down his path of no return. When the name Weird Sisters was brought up, I immediately thought of in Magic the creature type Weird, as like the sisters, they are not of this world and are supernatural. Deconstructing gender roles. Gender roles in the play, much like at the time it is set in, are very prevalent. We see Lady Macbeth make most use of these gender roles. As many times throughout the play, she will play with Macbeth's fragile masculinity, saying things like, "Are you a man?" when Macbeth is freaking out about seeing Banquo's ghost, or, "When you durst do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man." Lady Macbeth is calling out Macbeth, saying he would be so much more of a man if he were to kill Duncan, using Macbeth's gender to coerce him into doing what she wants him to do. We also see Lady Macbeth play with the rules, as she doesn't want to kill somebody while being a woman, so she calls out to the spirits and says, "Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty, make thick my blood." Lady Macbeth is asking to be ungendered so that she is able to kill Duncan. The gender roles in Macbeth made me think of the Soul Sisters in Magic, as they have little power and toughness, and don't attack but heal you. It also made me think of giants for the male side, as while there are a few female giants in Magic, most giants are male. The giants make me think of big, strong men, while the Soul Sisters make me think of small, fragile women, which were the gender roles back in the time of Macbeth. And just for fun, I put a card called Castle into the deck because the flavor text, the quote at the bottom, is from Macbeth.